Crazy. When I first signed here, found out that we were going to be going back there for joint practice. So it'll be great to see all the former guys. This business is about relationships, and so being there for 6 years, whether it's guys in the equipment room, guys in the weight room, operations guys, most importantly the guys in that locker room. So got a lot of friends there, and it'll be good to see them, but at the same time compete and just get that much closer to week one.
Hey, welcome into Foxborough Rush. Great to have you here with us on Nesson as we talk all things Patriots as they get set, of course, for joint practice against the Minnesota Vikings. We'll hear from Mike Vrabel coming up as he is speaking, and they're just getting on the ground, like boots on the ground in Minnesota for this joint practice against the Minnesota Vikings. Annabelle Hasselbeck, Jade McCarthy here to take you through all of it. AB, this is so fun. Like we meet in another way. I love it.
So fun. Absolutely love it. I know we have the Sports Spectrum tie, a few other things, but you saw that we were doing the show today together, and I'm super fired up.
Yeah, it's awesome. I tell you what, the Patriots better be fired up as they're getting on the ground there in Minnesota, because not only did Senator Garrett Bradbury say, hey, this is sweet, like I'm going back to a place that was home for 6 years for me with the Minnesota Vikings, he also was like, we better be ready, because I have seen offenses get just, it's been a disaster if they are not game planned and ready to go up against this Brian Flores defense. So, look, I think that's number one, that the Patriots need to be ready for this. And then number two, AB, is that Mike Vrabel's going to like up the intensity here. Like he saw his team deliver in large part against the Washington Commanders. I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to ask them to level up in this, 2 days of practice against the Minnesota Vikings ahead of preseason game number 2. So they have to be ready for that. And he wants to see them answer the bell, if you will, as he ratchets up the intensity. That's my expectation for today. We all know the importance of these joint practices. What are you watching for as the Patriots get out there against the Vikings today?
Yeah, well, it's not just Bradbury who knows that they need a plan going into this joint practice and scrimmage. Mike Vrabel is all over it, like you said. But I think for him, there's this, even with O'Connell too, there's this strict no fight rule. Like they are going to be on the discipline of these players, because that also shows you too, how are you going to handle heated moments and aggression in a game, right? And so I think part of it's that. At the same time, fights always happen. It always gets heated when you're going up against a different opponent. You finally get to hit someone who's not your teammate. I know for me, even getting out of preseason as an athlete in college, that was a huge thing. I was so ready to just hit someone else. So that is real. But I think the biggest thing with these joint practices and just how it's a controlled environment, your quarterback is not going to get hit. He's not going to get taken to the ground. Your running backs aren't going to be taking those same amount of hits, and even your wide receivers. So I think the joint practices are great in that sense of you can rep out what you want to rep out against a different opponent, get other looks, check out, hey, are our rules working? Are we where we think we are? But I think just as much as it is going to be ramping it up, like you said, they're definitely going to have the reins on the players on that physicality sense.
Yeah, and to your point, right? Everything is a lesson. So if it does escalate, then it becomes a lesson in terms of how are you going to handle it? Because guess what? You could get tossed out of a game if you don't handle it well. So they want to make sure that is held in check. At the same time, I think, I was talking to a former league executive yesterday who was like, look, these joint practices are absolutely necessary. We only have 3 preseason games now. So these need to happen. They need to be part of the course. And obviously coaches use them as an evaluation time for their players. So, we obviously saw the fumble Friday night by Drake Maye. We saw the centers, 2 rookies on that offensive line. They have to work on these things. And they said, we're going to see a lot of stunts because teams are going to throw at you where they think your greatest weakness is. So I anticipate that they'll continue to work on that with a young quarterback in Drake Maye, with the 2 guys on the line, obviously, that are youthful in Will Campbell, in Jared Wilson. And then you have Trey Henderson, a young running back. So those are things that they're going to have to continually work on. I think the other reason that this Minnesota practice jumps out to me, AB, is that you're talking about a Vikings team that won 14 games last season. And I understand that on the offensive side of the ball, it's a different quarterback there. You don't have Justin Jefferson practicing because he's been dealing with that hamstring injury. But we've seen what KOC can do with his quarterback. So I think good things are going to come, patience needed, from J.J. McCarthy. But on the other side, Brian Flores is going to throw stuff at you, right? I mean, he runs a chaotic scheme. Like, they mix things up. And I think that is certainly why we were hearing the talk from Bradbury, like, you got a game plan. You got to be ready for this one. But it is a good way to gauge, I think, a little bit where this Patriots team is offensively out there in Minnesota.
Yeah, well, even just looking at what Vrabel has planned, I mean, he does the Commanders. Then you have Minnesota. They did not take this preseason light. You said it. These are one of the best teams in the NFL, right? With some of the top talent, and especially just looking at Flores' defense. So I think looking at that point, you look at what the Patriots have really done in this offseason, and they're not taking it lightly. It's not like Vrabel went out and tried to plan a joint practice with Jacksonville. Like, there is a lot of strategic planning that has gone behind this. And also, to your point back with the younger players, the biggest thing for these young guys, and really anyone on the team, and the foundational piece that Vrabel has been preaching, is like, don't make the same mistakes twice, right? You can't be a repeat error. And I think with the fumble and with the given up sack, like, that's where these players in this offensive line, especially the young guys, have to be able to capitalize. Okay, we got to make new mistakes. New mistakes are great and okay in preseason in these joint practices because you figure them out before you get into the regular season. So I think all things considered, that'd be the biggest thing looking into this joint practice in this game, is don't make the same mistakes twice.
Yeah, 100%. And they expect these guys to make mistakes, right? And, I think we saw that the other day, from Will Campbell. Like, after he made the mistake, it was the way he bounced back from it. And that's what you want to see. You want to see guys who are like, okay, what do I do differently? How do I position myself differently? How sure that I adjust to this? Because if they have that growth mindset, that's what helps them in their growth and their progression as a player in this league. It's what helps us all as people, quite honestly, right? It's when you don't make the same mistake, right? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But I think that that's entirely accurate. And they expect that these guys are not going to be perfect from go. There's a lot to learn. It's a huge learning curve. I think we're seeing that certainly in the receiver room alone. And we'll get to that a little bit later here. But with what are the coaches said about Steph Diggs and how he is learning this Josh McDaniels offense. And we've heard that for years, AB, just in terms of the complexity of this offense, all the different nuances that Josh likes to add to it. And it's going to be interesting to see how he builds it with a younger team, right? I mean, and we certainly saw him have success with Mac Jones as the quarterback here a few years back. But again, it's a different system with Drake Maye. Is he going to have some of those designed runs for him? What is it going to look like with a more mobile quarterback? I think that is going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and it's exciting for Patriots fans, right? Because you have a very versatile quarterback, and you have a young offensive lineman who are protecting him, and where, people can raise a concern there. But you could also look at it as so cool that these guys get to grow up together and they get to really be the new Patriots regime, right? Like, these are guys that, yes, we get to go along this journey with them, and even bringing in a new playbook, right? Like, you're all kind of, the playing field has been leveled, right? And that's why you have to bring in veterans like Stefon Diggs who have been around to coach up the wide receiver room. And that's why it's great that you have a veteran in Josh Dobbs, right? To be able to help Drake Maye with, he doesn't know the same Josh McDaniels playbook that Drake Maye's learning at the same time, but he's been around the NFL. And so I think for that reason, it's really going to be cool for Patriots fans to be able to grow up with these rookie players.
Yeah, and Josh Dobbs, I think, is the perfect example, right? Like, the NASA scientist playing in the National Football League is sort of the story that has stayed with him over the years. It is pretty incredible when you think about it. But he's talked about, the collaborative space that this quarterback room is. And that's hugely important and significant, because you want everybody to be pulling from each other. And look, this is his 9th team in the National Football League, 9th. Like, that's a lot of teams. And the benefit of that is that when you are the type of player that Josh is, and I think the type of person that he is, and he pulls from all different experiences, he's bringing all of that now to that quarterback room in New England. And I think that that's huge because it gives Drake something else to pull off of. And, obviously, like, he can chime in with what he saw when he was playing in college, but there's a lot of different, synergy, I think, that they can build together. And it's also worth mentioning, right, that the quarterback coach is someone that Dobbs worked with during his time in Cleveland. So there's also, some shared commonality and some shared background that plays into this room as well. And look, I mean, for Dobbs, I think he loves Josh McDaniels, do you love football mentality and how much he is pouring that into all of them as players. And has he had this remarkable standout training camp? No, not really. But he has had some glimpses. And I do think that you have to look at the whole package in terms of what he's bringing to the table.
Yeah, and you're right. He hasn't had this standout splash play preseason training camp. He did have an awesome and very athletic touchdown in the first preseason game. But I think, we ride and die on Drake Maye this season. That is where the money is. We got to make sure that he's healthy, but you get the positives in Dobbs and the fact that you said the amount of teams that he's been on. And some people might look at that as a negative, but really for the Patriots this season, that's amazing. That means he's seen so many more D coordinators than probably anyone else in that quarterback room, right? He knows what to expect. He also knows, hey, this is what this away locker room's like. This is what this fan base is like. This is what this travel trip's going to be like. And just the process as a pro that he can really help Drake Maye with, I think is an intangible that you don't always get with a backup quarterback.
Yeah, no, very true. And look, there's going to be a lot of evaluations going on around the league, for the next couple weeks when it comes to different quarterbacks and who's going to end up on what roster. And there's definitely going to be movement that's coming. There's just no question about that, because it's going to be how many quarterbacks do you keep on your roster? There's going to be look at Cleveland, right? How many quarterbacks they currently have on their roster? Right. What's going to happen there? So I think that there's lots of movement that still could happen at this point in time, because we are in that evaluation stage, right? I had another executive say to me, I don't do anything when it comes to evaluating until after the first preseason game. Then we'll start to go back and look at the tape and make some evaluations and then add to it as we move further into the preseason. But I'm not actually doing any of that until we get through that. So we're in that stage, right? That is now happening this week. I think when you look at the evaluation on one player, the fans love him, and you can see why the Patriots did as well. And that, of course, is their pick in Trey Henderson. And Josh McDaniels spoke about what he can do for this Patriots offense.
I mean, I think everybody sees Travion the same way. He's first of all, he's a tremendous kid, awesome individual, really hard worker, smart kid, can process a lot of information. Which allows you as a coach to try to use him in the ways that he should be used. Explosive, I think we all saw that the other night, and tough, physical. So I have many negatives to say about Trey, but excited to coach him. We've had some really good players with skill sets that are somewhat like his. Maybe nobody quite as fast as, Vereen was probably the fast. Him and Danny Woodhead were fast, but Travion's fast. So excited to be with him.
Right? It's like a different gear when it comes to the speed of Trey Henderson. But look, I think we all obviously saw that the very first time he touched the football in an NFL game against the Washington Commanders on Friday night. But the crux of that, listening to Josh McDaniels there, to me, was the idea of how much he can absorb. And given how much he can absorb, how much that will benefit Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offense, and this overall team because they can throw more at him because he's able to process it and do so quickly. And then all of a sudden you can ramp up the number of times in which he can touch the ball because you can do it in a lot of different ways.
Every coach has a method to how they are going to give the information in the playbook to their players, right? And sometimes it's even a test. I'm going to throw stuff at you that I know that you won't be able to handle, and I'm just going to see what sticks, right? So I think that's a huge point in just Trayvon Henderson's ability to process the information. But how about the start from him? Like, are you kidding me? It was absolutely more than we probably could have hoped for. I don't think anyone would have expected first play do that. And I was actually driving in my car, had the radio on, but I was talking to a friend and I started hearing what's going on. I'm like, stop talking, ramped it up. But I think Trayvon has everything that we've seen so far that he's been spoken about as a home run hitter and what we saw at Ohio State, but also he has those intangibles, those leadership qualities that are really going to take him far. I know you're familiar with Sports Spectrum. It's Sports Spectrum who I work for right now as well, and we've covered him throughout his Ohio State career, and this is a guy who is really going to be humble yet aggressive and competitive. And Josh McDaniels talked about his toughness. Like, this is a smaller guy, but he is tough as nails.
Yeah. And he's so grounded. And he's just so much of that school, like you said, very humble. And you heard it even from him just talking about it the other day, right? Like, I walk into practice and I'm going to walk in the same every single day. And maybe some days I'm going to have great practices and maybe some days I'm going to have not so great practices, but I'm going to bring the same thing to the table day in and day out. And with that, I think also comes that servant type of leadership, where as he grows as a player, as he grows as a person, all of a sudden it's like, okay, like, what can I do that is also going to help lift you up higher? And how can I not absorb praise, right, but deflect it? Because that's what great leaders really do. They absorb blame and they deflect praise. And we see, the great coaches do it. We see the great quarterbacks do it in this league. AB, we see it all the time. And I think when you look at Trayvon Henderson, he has all those pieces that can help make him that type of player and moreover, that type of leader on a team like this.
He also acknowledged in his post-game press conference, I was nervous. I had to pray. I had to ground myself, like you said. And I think that's an amazing quality for him to be confident enough, right? Like that vulnerability of saying, yeah, I was nervous before this game. It's, my first NFL debut in that way. But it's a confidence when you're able to say but I knew how to take control of my feelings and look what I did with it.
All right. As we said, the Patriots are on the ground in Minnesota here, and we have some sound coming in from Mike Vrabel talking a little bit about his offense going against that Brian Flores Vikings defense. Let's take a listen to the Patriots head coach.
Defense, such a unique challenge. They do a lot. They communicate. They disguise very well. They'll show you something and then rotate to another coverage. There's ability to pressure players from all three levels, from the front, from the linebackers, and from the third level. So you'll get different personnel groupings that we'll have to be ready for. We'll get different movements and run pressures and coverages where the quarterback has to be aware, whether it's man or some kind of roll trap coverage, that we have to be careful that where we're throwing the football.
Patriots, of course, are in that joint practice against the Vikings. We will hear more from Vrabel coming up as we're just getting started here on Foxborough Rush. We'll also take a closer look at that wide receiver room. And I don't know, there were some interesting comments made about a veteran receiver and how he's absorbing the offense. So you'll hear from that coming up as we continue right here on Foxborough Rush. Back on the other side right after this. Welcome back in. Foxborough Rush rolling along here on your Wednesday afternoon. As we said, Patriots are in their joint practice right now with the Minnesota Vikings. And one of the interesting things that, we're keeping an eye on is Kyle Duggar, right? I mean, this is a guy who obviously signed a 4-year, $58 million extension a year ago. But look, it was a different regime, and I think that is certainly worth noting. And Mike Vrabel wants to see what he wants to see from these players. And to that end, I think the expectation from a lot was that we would see him really jump out and have an impactful camp. And that hasn't been the case. And so they've moved him down. On Sunday, he was out there with the twos. Mike Vrabel was asked about that and what it's going to take for him to be able to move back up with the starters earlier today. Here's the head coach.
I think just making sure that he's where he needs to be and understanding that the coverage concepts and everything we do keep working and keep progressing. A lot of this is the guys that have earned a right to take a look with that first unit. And again, there'll be different lineups and different things. And so we'll just focus on the reps that you get. And right now, his attitude's been great, and he's had a long recovery in the off season.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's one of those things that he's got to go out and show that he's capable of the job and can do it to the ability with which the coaches want to see him do it. And he's going to have to get his way back up to being out there with the starters, AB. I mean, I think we both know how this works. We were talking about it a little bit when it comes to, the way Trey Henderson approaches practice. It's like, well, you know what? No matter what the day brings, I'm going to show up and be the same person. And you kind of heard Vrabel alluding to that in this case. Like, he's been great about this, and he's continuing to work. And that's a big part of it, right? Because sometimes coaches move you around and do things just to see what your reaction is going to be. And I don't know that is the case here. But I still think that the way in the response, I should say, is going to have a big part of the way this eventually unfolds.
Yeah, and whether or not it was the plan that Vrabel had, competition should and hopefully will bring the best out of your best players, right? And so it's definitely lit a fire under him. And you heard Vrabel, he said other guys have earned those positions. So it really doesn't seem like this is a situation where they're kind of testing, just giving other people opportunity. But you said it too at the beginning there, like Vrabel brought in other people as well, right? Like Craig Woodson is a guy who has also been getting more opportunity. That's a guy that Vrabel brought in this draft class. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But the hope is that the guys that you're paying, the guys that you are saying, hey, you're our guy for this defense, you want them to rise to the occasion when competition comes.
Yeah. Yep. And that's certainly the expectation. And look, I would not be surprised to hear that things get taken up a notch out there in Minnesota, because one, the importance and the emphasis on joint practices, two, just where we are at this point, moving past the camp stage into the joint practices, moving towards preseason game number 2 this weekend against the Vikings. This is all about getting a team ready to play. And there's certain levels to that and notches along the way. And my expectation is that this is moving it up to the next notch out there in Minnesota. Let's take a little bit of a look at the wide receiver room for the Patriots. And, look, I think you talk about where Drake Maye is as a quarterback, obviously rookie season, running for his life most of the time, just given, where the team was at that point, the offensive line, not a lot of weapons to throw through. We talked a little bit about the line this year, and albeit it's young, they're hoping to keep him upright, more than he was last season, and the 30 plus sacks that he took in his rookie season in the National Football League. But you also tried to add some weapons. Steph Diggs being one of those weapons, and he did not play on Friday night. We heard Vrabel say on WEEI on Monday it was a coach's decision. He was late to practice last Wednesday, undisclosed reason as to why. He did, of course, get back out there on Sunday. Was making an impact and has had a good camp. I mean, there's no question that he has really showed some glimpses this camp, and just the fact that he's there and fully healthy and ready to go speaks volumes. And he's a veteran in this league, so you have to, expect the fact that he doesn't need, an entire training camp. Like, he already knows how to be a pro in this league. And I think that is really significant to point out. That being said, I did think that, the wide receiver coach, Todd Downing, spoke a little bit about Diggs and where he is right now in terms of this offense. And I thought it was a pretty interesting statement. So let's go ahead and listen to Downing here.
I think where he's at in his process right now is where we want him to be. He's working hard when he's out there with his reps, and you see him making some plays. The big thing with him is understanding that we can't confuse results with the process. So if there's a day that he doesn't have a whole bunch of production, that doesn't mean he didn't do his job and get open. The process for him is going to have to be learning this system and learning exactly what the quarterback and what Josh are looking for, and making sure that he's in the right spot at the right time. As he continues to refine that, I think he'll stay on the trajectory we expect him to be on.
So to me, that sounds like a work in progress, AB. I don't know how you want to sum that up, but to me, it sounds like a work in progress.
It's definitely a work in progress from the physical side, right? He's just coming back from an ACL and coming back at a rapid speed that I don't think anyone was really ready for him to be ready for week one. So they're definitely going to take it slow with him. But I also thought what Coach said just about the process for the mental side of it, more so in like, you are the star. Like, we brought you in to be that weapon for Drake Maye, but if you don't get those same amount of touches, that doesn't mean that what you did was worthless. Like, you're actually helping us by grabbing attention, blocking, whatever you got to do. And for a star player, regardless of the sport, when your role changes and you aren't the go-to person on every single play, that's a hard thing to overcome and to work through, because you feel that responsibility for your team, and you can also generate confidence and momentum and your swagger. Like Drake Maye said, when Stefon Diggs is in the huddle, there's a different swagger that comes into the huddle and to the offense. It's a real presence that he has. So for Stefon Diggs to learn that, it's going to take time. It's a process. It's not something that just comes in overnight.
Yeah, but I also think within this Josh McDaniels system, everybody's got to play their role, because it just doesn't work the same way if that isn't happening. So it's important that, even we heard him say it, right? Like, you can't confuse the results with the process. You've got to just lean in to understanding the process and knowing the process and being able to go out there and react, right? And not be thinking about it along the way, because then you're 2 steps behind and the play's not going to go the way it's been designed. So I think it bears watching is what I would say on this one, AB.
No, I'm all about it, but this is the guy who they need to be the guy, right? Like, they
no
have
doubt.
invested in
No
Stefon
doubt.
Diggs, and I think he knows that too. That's probably why he has maybe, it wasn't explicitly said, but if they're trying to reel him back on, hey, remember the process, what does that mean on the other side? It probably means that Stefon Diggs is trying to go out and do more and more and more and think he needs to be at a certain level that maybe he just isn't physically or with the playbook yet. And so I think, or with his role. And so I think for that reason, we can probably see behind the scenes Stefon Diggs and his motivation to be that person.
Yeah. All right. Well, we all know that Josh McDaniels loves a great slot receiver. There is no question about that. And we have seen an undrafted free agent who has just been standing out throughout camp, certainly made his mark Friday night against the Commanders, talking about Efton Chism, of course, here. And we had a chance to listen to Drake Maye speak about him after that victory preseason week 1. Let's hear what the quarterback had to say.
Yeah, he's a baller. I mean, he loves coming up, ask me questions about routes and things. He loves talking football. He's just a football player, and you saw it tonight, making plays. I'm glad he got in the end zone, and then almost should have got in the end zone again on the screen. He got chased down, but I think just blocking hard, doing all the right things. I think that kind of is what we're preaching in the offensive room. You do keep doing things the right way and keep showing up. You're going to get rewarded.
You know, sometimes it's the expression that tells you more than even the words that somebody says. And like, as soon as Drake was asked about Chism, it was like he just lit up. You could see it, right? And I think that's so significant because for a quarterback to see that he has that sort of excitement, about a kid who's walked in as a UDFA on this team, like out of Eastern Washington. I mean, look, he had success there. There's no question about it, right? I mean, his name is mentioned in some records with Cooper Kupps, and we've seen what he's done in this league. But that being said, I think Drake Maye spoke volumes about how he feels about this kid as a receiver on this team, just with the way he lit up and being asked about him.
Yeah, it's really everyone. Players and even the coaching staff is saying it's a joy to coach him. They love his work ethic. And they've also noted, hey, we know he's going to be fighting for every rep. And we know those reps are limited, but look what he's done with it. And I think, in every training camp, you have that underdog story, the people that the fan base gets behind. But, this feels legit because of the history that the Patriots have had. Edelman, Deion Branch, Amendola. He showed up at training camp, I think, for the first joint practice. And he probably just wanted to check out the guy everybody's been comparing him to, right? So there's a lot of hype around Efton Chism, but he has gone out there and fought and been so competitive. And what I loved hearing from the coaching staff as well is just how his competitiveness and aggression and how he's become more comfortable throughout camp. When you come in, you're the rookie, you're undrafted rookie, you're probably not as fierce maybe as you would normally be when you're totally comfortable in your with your college team. Now they are seeing that come out of him. And so I think that's a huge progression. And just the willingness too that they've spoke about with him to do whatever, to be versatile, to play wherever on the field. Yeah. Because when you're looking at this wide receiver group and you're looking at, okay, if we keep 5 guys, if we keep 6 guys, you better be ready to play special teams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No question. I mean, there's guys that you have to keep just because of special teams. It's just the way it is in this league. I mean, it's just too important of a game. I think part, you just look at the return game alone, right? And we were talking about it a little bit with Travion Henderson, but clearly, with the rules changing last year, I think the Patriots are leaning into that and they're expecting to score some points, in that space alone, AB, because the speed that they now have and being able to put the ball in his hands. But I think that Efton Chism he is doing his very best and doing a very good job of it, of creating a name for him in this space and certainly getting the buy-in from coaches and from teammates. And that's sometimes that's all you need, right? I remember Julian Edelman telling me when Bill Belichick called him and said, "We're going to draft you." He was like, you know what he said? He looked at me and he over the phone, he goes, "I don't know what we're going to do with you, but I know you can play ball. So we'll just figure it out." And I think that's part of what these stories are, right? It's we don't know exactly how you're going to fit, but if you can show us that you're going to be able to have an impact, whether it be on special teams or whether it be on certain designed plays, then we're going to find a space for you. And sometimes you just need that foundation and then you grow from there.
If Drake Maye says to Josh McDaniels or even Vrabel, "Hey, I want Chism, I want this guy," he's at least making the practice squad. That is a real thing. Who your quarterback likes and who your quarterback has a connection with and also trust, right? And you see Drake Maye, Chism might not be with the ones, right? But Drake Maye is seeing what's going on. He's seeing the plays he's making. He's seeing the hustle plays and the ability that he is jumping up for catches, in that aggressive spirit. Also, how you take the reps. Some players who might be stars at their college might come into a training camp and think, "I'm too good for special teams," or "I'm too good for this, 6th rep in this drill." Not Efton Chism. That is not the vibe anyone's gotten from him, and your quarterback is going to notice that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the quarterback just for a minute here, AB. The Athletic came out with their annual quarterback rankings, of course. And look, to come up with these, they talked to current and former GMs, other executives, head coaches, position coaches, coordinators in the league. So there's a lot behind it when it comes to these rankings. And Drake Maye is sort of if you take tier 1, tier 2, he's in tier 3, kind of right in the middle, 22nd overall. And I think the concern stemmed from the number of sacks he took a season ago, and then, just interceptions, turning the ball over, right? And like, first rule of the quarterback, and we talked a little bit about this Friday night, like, he knows he can't make that mistake. You got to just be able to live for another down, if you will, and hold on to the football. But I think if you're expecting improvement on this offensive line, we saw the Patriots decide to obviously put some draft capital into it. And we knew that was going to be the case as soon as Mike Vrabel was hired as the head coach, because he was like, look, we're going to invest in the trenches. That's where this game starts. To me, the upside is that I think you're going to have improvement there. And once you have that, I think it really allows the quarterback to be able to progress at a different rate than he would have been able to, given the situation a season ago.
Yeah, and like you said, looking at the season that he had and the protection that he had around him last year, if he's higher on that list, you're probably like, who's on the list? Who's higher? Like, what happened there, right? Like, you're questioning the list as a whole. And so I think you have to take it as, okay, what can Drake Maye do now with who's around him now? And like you said, he's really been as advertised. I mean, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders came to Foxborough. They did the joint practice, and reportedly the better quarterback that day was Drake Maye. Like, that's Jaden Daniels. That's the rookie of the year we're talking about. Drake Maye has the potential, and we've seen, yes, there was the fumble in that situation in the preseason game, but like, no repeat errors. That's what you want from your franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Don't make the same mistake twice. Just, keep going with the growth mindset, ask the questions, learn, keep improving. And as I said, I do think the trajectory and the growth can be rapid. I also think that, we have seen the success that Josh McDaniels has had with quarterbacks in this league as an offensive coordinator. We obviously, we've lived it. We saw it with Brady for so many years, but we saw it with Mac Jones too. So I don't think that there's any reason to doubt the fact that they can find a way to create a lot of growth and a lot of upside in this Patriots offense as they kind of get going here in their first year together. All right, more to get to. We're going to hear from you guys coming up. I mean, it's always fun to check in with all of y'all who are watching us here on Foxborough Rush. So we'll check in with the mailbag, and it's draft season. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we continue. Annabelle Hasselbeck and Jade McCarthy back with you on Foxborough Rush next. Foxborough Rush rolling along here. Annabelle Hasselbeck, Jade McCarthy with you. And, it's almost draft time, right? Like, you got to put your research together, get set for your draft, whatever's going to come your way. Part of it so much is just, where do you land in the draft order? And, what's your strategy going to be? Do you go Lamar if you're like top because you just feel like you're going to get so many points out of him? Do you take your receivers high? Your backs, obviously. Look, I mean, it's one of those things that I think it depends on where you fall in the order, and then you kind of go from there. But if you look at some of the running back rankings, according to ESPN, it's Bijan Robinson that tops the list, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon, Ashton Gentry, of course, in Vegas. We'll see what Gentry brings, and then Christian McCaffrey rounding it out with the 49ers. Where are you on that top five? Like, if you get one of those backs and you get to pick your choice, AB, who are you taking?
Yeah, well, I think just with the fantasy football discussion, sometimes like this is fun, but I like just watching the punishments at the end of the season that people have to do. I think that's the most entertaining part. So when we're finally getting back into this discussion,
as long as it doesn't involve permanent ink.
All right. Yes, and myself. I don't want to actually lose in any way. So that's always my favorite part of the fantasy football discussions. But yeah, when I look at this top 5 list, if I was lucky enough to draft from here, I mean, the thing that stands out to me is just Christian McCaffrey being at number 5. I would put him over Ashton Gentry just because of what we've seen from him. I love watching Christian McCaffrey in college, but if I got the opportunity, I'm taking Saquon. Like, I'm hearing they're going to not only give him the ball, but in the run game, but also try to use him more in the pass game. They're Super Bowl champions. I feel like you can't not take Saquon if you have the opportunity to.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I'm with you 100%. If I got to take any of them, I would do the same exact thing. I just think that he is such a playmaker. And he's one of those, we've just seen it time and time again. And he's also, I mean, he's so selfless, right? Like you go back to the end of last season and he's like, it's okay. I don't need to go for the record. I'm going to sit. It's the best move for the team. And like, I mean, I even heard like Nick Sirianni after the fact be like, well, if we hadn't won the Super Bowl, I don't know if that would have worked out as well as it did, right? But you have to give him credit, for willing to be the team player that he is. But gosh, like every time he touches the football, I just think he has a chance to do something great with it, and he's so fun to watch. That he would be tops on my list too. Obviously, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs just racks up yards in Detroit. I do think there are some questions as to what their offense is exactly going to look like this season, obviously, with Ben Johnson no longer the OC there and, the new head coach in Chicago. So, there's a little bit of question there. There's a new OC in Philly, though. So there's questions, I think in a lot of these places as to what it's going to be. The one thing with a Christian McCaffrey is you always just have that health thing lingering in your head, AB, and we all know. I mean, I think it was my youngest. I don't know. My boys loved to play fantasy football too, but one of them had CMC last year, and it was just like, So that it's just part of it.
Probably tears in your household, I can assume.
He was not so thrilled about it. His brother helped him move some things around, and he actually fared pretty well in the end. But that's not always easy. I do think it's also you can get some depth in running back, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, look, you always maybe root a little bit harder for the guys on your own team, but if I'm watching the way camp is going for New England, and if I'm seeing Trey Henderson score the first time he touches the ball, like he's someone that I would certainly have on my list when it comes to the draft.
Definitely. And injuries happen, right? Like we have Ramondre, but he didn't practice this week yet. And then you have a star, what it's looking like in TreVeyon Henderson. And if he's able to hold onto the ball, have great ball security, and make those home running hit plays, right? And you can also pair him with Gibson. He's not the biggest guy, but you can see what he's able to do. So yeah, I think TreVeyon Henderson would be an incredible depth pick. But I also think just with the running back by committee and how Josh McDaniels is going to do that, if you can prioritize some of those guys at the top of the list who are going to be the guy, like Gibbs, like Saquon, like Derrick Henry, I think him paired with the run threat of Lamar Jackson, that's probably why TreVeyon Henderson is going to be dangerous, because you have a run threat in Drake Maye as well. So I think Derrick Henry would be an incredible pick as well. I worked for the Tennessee Titans during a training camp, and I saw Derrick Henry in person. I have been around a lot of football players in my lifetime. Never have I ever been just in awe of someone's build. I mean, this guy was massive and just muscle, and you just look at him, you're like, you could kill me right now with your pinky. Like you literally this is a no joke guy. So I think you pair him with this Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson. If you're not going to go running back by committee and go with the TreVeyon Henderson, who's a great depth pick, Derrick Henry could be a home run hitter as well.
Yeah. 13th on the list is James Cook, up there north in Buffalo, if you will. And he got a new deal. So it seemed like it was trending that way. Of course, he had that brief hold in. It kind of, I think, caught the Bills by surprise a little bit. And then they managed to work things out. He was back on the practice field. It is, no doubt. I'm sure Buffalo's like, I'm glad it's off trend here and we're done with it and we can move forward. Because goodness knows that you'd think they would like to get the same thing done in Cincinnati and in Pittsburgh and down there in Dallas. Well, they like to do things a little bit different in Dallas with their star players, but you'd think they'd like to get it wrapped up with Micah Parsons. But James Cook, obviously, look, the offense, it's Josh Allen's offense, but if you look at what James Cook did last season for Buffalo, he was a huge piece of it. I want to say he had more touches than anybody else on the team. So he's another guy that, if you could get him, he's going to rack up some yards for you. Albeit you're probably like, do I have to root for the Bills? Like, come on. That's the hard part, right?
It is, but the Bills want him taking the ball. They do not want Josh Allen running headfirst, doing these Superman dives. Will he?
No.
Probably. He probably still will, but they want to give him the ball. So that's a great pick. And yeah, before that contract got figured out, maybe there's a little uncertainty there, but they were able to figure that out. But I think another guy that isn't really a national name, he's not a household name, is Kenneth Walker III. They call him K9 out in Seattle. And there's been some health concerns with him last season. He was very in and out. Zach Charbonnet coming out of UCLA did a great job picking up for him, but really it's this guy. It's K9 who the Seahawks are going to look to use. People there are saying he is one of the best offensive players that they have, like absolutely no doubt. It's a game changer when he's in or not. And the Seahawks want to run the ball. They got rid of Ryan Grubb because Mike McDonald wanted to have a run-first offense. So I would really look for K9 to be used by the Seattle Seahawks, and they're resting him up. He has barely practiced, didn't play in the preseason game. Like they are using him with special kid gloves. Like they are putting him in bubble wrap right now so that when the season starts, they can just set him off running.
They can peel off the bubble wrap and just say, go. That Seattle team in general, I think, is going to be interesting to watch, AB. I mean, obviously the change at quarterback and what that's going to mean. We saw Sam Darnold have a lot of success, with KOC in Minnesota. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what it looks like with the Seattle Seahawks this season as a whole. But I like the pick, K9. If you're looking for a back, there you go. You got some intel from the West Coast, the great Northwest out there. All right, we got to get one more break in. I think that's what we're being told to do here on Foxborough Rush. So we're going to listen to the powers that be. We're going to take a quick break, and we are going to hear from you on the other side as we check out our mailbag. Stick around. Always got to hear from the people here on Foxborough Rush, right, AB? I mean, that's part of the equation. We love hearing from you. Let's check out the mailbag.
The better username you have, the more chance that it'll get to take you.
All right, so let's see what we got. This is Turtle Hands. If you like usernames, there you go. This is coming from Turtle Hands as to if the Patriots should trade for Micah Parsons and Elliott Wolf's draft ability. This is a long one, so bear with me. No, save the money to fix the problems that you're going to run into with changing systems. Most notable would be left tackle. I'd rather save the money and get a stud left tackle in free agency if Campbell shows he can't do this. I'd also advise Elliott Wolf to stop gambling with the draft picks. Every draft this guy takes gambles on every pick. Take the safe pick. Come on, safe pick. Say it with me. Drake Maye was the safe pick. It's the only thing he did right in that whole draft in 24. Anytime he had a gamble possibility, he took it and he lost. Say it with me, AB.
Say it with me. I honestly almost did. He got me there, Turtle Hands. You did a good job of delivering that. I'm going to check in. You're a writer? I mean, no, seriously, it's compelling. But I agree in the sense that, save the money. This is not a team that needs Micah Parsons right now. And I don't see them taking him. But I also highly doubt that Jerry Jones would be trading him to New England. If Jerry Jones was going to trade him anywhere, he's sending him to Jacksonville. Okay. I do think it's probably going to get figured out in Dallas, but yeah, I don't see him giving him to the New England Patriots with a new regime, a Mike Vrabel defense. So probably going to end up saving the money here.
I think every single team in the National Football League, all 31 of them, I said this the other day on Foxborough Rush, should line up to take Micah Parsons, Patriots included. I also think that there is a 0.0000001, say it with me, % chance that anybody gets him, because I do not see the Dallas Cowboys trading him. I just see this being the way they do business. They end up overpaying players because they wait until the last minute to sign them. And just like CeeDee Lamb last season, Micah Parsons is going to get paid and reset the market, as he should, given everything that he's done. Look, he's mentioned in the same sentence as Reggie White. Nobody else can say that. Come on. All right, let's go back to the mailbag here. Jeremy Underhill 3203 on the quarterback and the offensive line communication. Campbell, May, and Wilson need to get better communicating to eliminate pressures that cause the lapse of good judgment calls. Yeah, I agree, Jeremy, but it's a process. It's going to take some time. They're young. They're learning, and as long as they don't make the same mistake twice, right, AB?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They're young and they get to grow together, though. That's the thing, too. So there is a standard definitely to be hit with this team. And that's been set. There's been a clear-cut plan and level that these players are hoping to execute at. But they're going to grow together. And you know and you hope that it will be different come the second preseason game.
All right, let's go back to the mailbag here. This is David Cantor 5346. We got to up the username. I mean, I appreciate you, David, but that one's a hard one. Talking about the Tom Brady statue, at least it's not as hideous as the Dwayne Wade statue. So there's that. What did you make of the statue?
We actually did a feature on botched statues on Foxborough Rush. I think it was last week. And I did a little heavy research into like these botched statues. And I'm watching these documentaries that these sculptors are like, it is a hard thing to do. So I definitely have a lot more compassion for the sculptors. So looking at the Tom Brady statue, I thought it was incredible. The crafts always bring the best quality to all the things that they do. But I thought it was incredibly difficult, the size of it. But also, you got to get the facial expression right. Like Brady has a very standout face. You know exactly what he looks like. And so I thought it was a very hard task to do, but I'm for it. I liked it for sure.
Yeah. I would not want that job. Do not ask me to chisel a statue, please. No, thank you. I will pass. One more for you here. This is YouTube Connolly family on the best team in the AFC East. All I know is the Buffalo Bills fan base has 2 more years to win a Super Bowl because Drake and the Patriots and their defense are going to take over the AFC East in the next 2 years. You in? You buying it?
Say it with me. Say it with me. I'm all about this, Connolly family. Let's go.
I like it. I do think Arrow is pointing up. You talk about a 4-win Patriots team a season ago. I think this season things are going to look very different in Foxborough. And we are here for all of it on Foxborough Rush. Thanks so much for hanging with us here. We'll do it again come Friday afternoon. AB, always fun. Let's hang again sometime, all right?
Let's do it. So fun. Love talking Pats.
Much more Foxborough Rush coming your way.